Hey guys, welcome back. Today I want to tell you all about the potty mix that I've been using lately and why I've been putting all the stuff in there that I've been using. It's not that much though, so don't be scared. So let's go ahead and get on into it, and I'm going to repot some plants while we do this. Here you can see kind of what my soil mix looks like. I'd say this is a pretty good representation of how I usually like it to look. I like it to look nice and airy and chunky. I would call this my Aroid potty mix. However, I do use this for pretty much all of my plants. So that includes Hoya and I don't know, anything else I may have. Usually will go in this. So let's go ahead and just get on into it here. I'm gonna grab, let's see, I'm gonna grab this plant here to repot. And I'm gonna put the old soil here in this bowl. That way I'm not mixing it in if I don't necessarily want to, which for this plant, I don't, because the soil is super, super old. So we're just gonna get rid of this. This is a beautiful Ficus tunicae or rubber tree, and it is super, super pretty, but it's getting a little weird and wobbly. You can tell he was looking for the sun there, and he desperately needs a repot. This is super compacted, nasty old soil, so it's time. The first thing I use in my soil mix is just any basic mix you can find. I usually prefer to use a local mixture when at all possible. I will put a picture up of the one that I usually use. I'm pretty sure it is local to me here personally, but I would just look for somewhere that is local to you. Go to one of your local nurseries or something like that, a local hydroponic store or a grow store, and you'll be able to find just like usually a really good size bag of pretty plain soil that was just gonna be a good base for you to start with. So I usually use just like a plain Tupor mix. The one that I have right now is actually Miracle-Gro potting mix, which is not my favorite, but it's what I'm working with right now. But I usually do buy just like a plain Tupor mix that is pretty inert soil, meaning it doesn't have much going on added to it. So then I like to add some stuff into it, and then I also like to fertilize with every watering, so I don't go too crazy on like adding extra nutrients and stuff like that, but we do add some goodies to it. So I would say I use about like, I don't know, I start off with like 50% of what you want to use being just your plain soil mix. That way you have a really good base to start with. Gosh, do you see that? That is just like, there's nothing in there. It's just dirt and like a little tiny bit of perlite and like maybe a few like barky chips, but not much else going on here. Oh, dang. Oh no, this isn't the one. I do have another one of these I need to repot today, and I'm really excited to show you. It has aerial roots growing, which I've never seen or had happen personally for a rubber tree, and I've never seen that like, or at least never noticed it on any like ficus that I've seen growing like out in the wild or anything like that. So I just thought that was so cool, so I'm excited to show you guys. Okay, I am like really separating these guys now. Oh, they're kind of tuberous. Huh, how weird. Do you see how kind of like tubery looking that is? Let me flip this guy around. Oh no, I broke a leaf off. But do you see that there? It's like a big old funky chunk. I'm just gonna use this big old pot here. I'm definitely gonna end up mixing up more soil mix here, so I'll be able to show you exactly how I mix it. But after you've got your, 50% of soil, just like your plain soil, I would add perlite. I don't measure anything out, so I'm so sorry if that is bothersome. But I just gonna go by like how it looks. I want it to look nice and airy. I want there to be good chunks in there, and I want it to look pretty also. So I add a good amount of perlite in there, and then I also add a bunch of super chunky orchid bark. That's what I'm looking for. I add super chunky orchid bark, and the mix that I usually have, do I have a bag? I do! This is the stuff that I usually use right here. So it is Orchid-Gro Mix coarse grade. It's got super, super big chunks of obviously orchid bark and then really big chunks of perlite as well that I can like never find just by itself. Look at the size of that chunk of perlite. That's crazy. That's a really big piece of perlite. So yeah, it just has really good chunky pieces in there. So I love that. It's really great for aerating the soil. And then lately I've started adding worm castings, which is essentially just worm poop. And yeah, that just adds some extra nutrients. I honestly only started adding that around maybe a month ago or so. So I haven't been using that for a crazy long time yet. So I don't feel like I can really say, you know, whether or not it's the best thing to add, but it is just one of those things that I've seen a bunch of other people adding it to their soil mixes in order to add just way better nutrients or more nutrient content, I should say, more dense nutrient content. And yeah, so I figured, why the heck not? Let's give it a try. I think I might need to put a stake in here. Uh-oh. And this needs a water. Okay, I'm honestly not too concerned about how funky this is gonna sit at first because it needs a water and I might end up staking it, but that's essentially how this guy is gonna look, which is, you know, fine by me. All right, I'm gonna set this guy off to the side. We're gonna repot this guy here. We're gonna repot this Anthurium superbum. We're actually gonna repot both of my Anthurium superbum. They're both in desperate need. This one more so than the other one. And let's see. Look at the tiny pot that's in. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and fill up like the good bottom chunk of this. Let's see. Yeah, we'll fill up like the bottom half of this pretty much with soil. So now we're pretty empty in here. I'm gonna show you just how I mix this up so you can kind of see what it looks like. Because I personally work better when I have some visuals. So let's see. Again, not my preferred, but it's what we have, so it's what we're going with. It just looks like peat moss, like with the teeniest little bit of perlite and these weird little balls of like nutrients. I don't know. Not my jam. All right, so I'm gonna spread that out. I filled this guy about halfway, see there. And now that we've got that there, I'm gonna go ahead and add our perlite. Oh no, I don't have much perlite, so I think I'm just gonna add the rest of this. For future reference, I would usually add twice this much perlite, just so you know. I go a little heavy on the perlite, and I should also probably be wearing a mask. Not probably, I should be wearing a mask. And I have previously been adding, oh, come on. I've previously been adding these like clay leca balls, pebble things is what they were called. But I ran out of those, unfortunately, and I haven't gone back to Mountain Lion Grow Supply or whatever it's called. I'll put the name up of what it's called in case you are in my area and you want to check them out. They are super, super great. The guys that work there are always really, really nice. My boyfriend and I love it over there. But yeah, I haven't been back over there for a while. So I haven't had any more of those. So if I did have more of those little clay pebble leca-y balls, I would definitely be adding those in here. Again, just to add some more aeration and because it looks really pretty. I don't know. I don't use them by themselves. You totally could use that kind of stuff just by itself as like a semi-hydro, or is that just a full hydro at that point? I'm gonna call it semi-hydro grow setup. If you wanted to just use only, you know, those leca balls, people totally do that. But that's just not my preferred way to do it. So I added almost that entire thing. I may end up adding the rest of this, but as you can see, I added quite a bit. So essentially I would add like equal parts perlite and orchid bark mix, if that makes sense. And now for the worm castings. Our worm poo. So it says for potting mix, mix 1 part worm castings to 4 parts soil. So I feel like that's kind of what we're doing. I don't know. I didn't actually read that before. I just kind of went for it. Try not to think about the fact that it's just all poop. So this is what we've got going on here. We have our bottom half layer of just our plain soil. Then we've got our perlite, our orchid bark mix with like our chunky parts of perlite, and then our worm castings, AKA worm poo. So let's just go ahead and mix all of this up. I wish I had gloves. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna add the rest of the chunky orchid bark, I think. Well, no, we'll wait. We'll wait because I have a lot of plants to repot, so we're gonna try and stretch this out. All right, so hopefully you can see there. You're not gonna be able to even see the worm castings anymore in there. They're just kind of blended in with the plain soil, but we've got some chunky parts of perlite and orchid bark in there. I would honestly prefer to have more perlite and more orchid bark in here, but like I said, we're trying to stretch this out because we have a lot of plants to repot today. I'm going to be doing a couple repotting videos, so it's not going to be all in one, so this won't be crazy long. But yeah, I think we're just going to repot one more plant here, and actually let's do 2 more plants because I have a little bit more to say about potting soil mixes and all of that. I feel like, just because I feel like it can get, whoa, ow. I'm gonna stretch my leg out here, I was getting a dead leg. But I feel like sometimes potting mixes can get really crazy. And by really crazy, I mean really involved and really expensive. And I feel like sometimes that's just really not feasible. At least for me, that's usually not feasible for me to have, you know, 200, 100 plus even dollars worth of like soil mix alone just for, you know, I mean, how long is that really gonna last? I don't know. It doesn't last me very long, I feel like. So, I don't know. I feel like it's usually less is more for me personally. I feel like right now I'm actually using quite a bit of things, even though really I guess it's only 4 different items I have going on. But honestly, you could cut out any one of those items and you would be totally fine. I mean, maybe don't cut out the plain soil because that's kind of your main chunk. But even if you just had the plain soil to work with, you're gonna be totally fine. I would say maybe just try to aerate your soil yourself a little bit more, maybe with, you know, what are those called? A skewer or something like that. You could totally do that. Or, is this what I was gonna put this in? Hold on. No, it's not.
You're not gonna think for that? I could have swore I did.
All right, well, I guess he's going in this pot here. This is not my favorite pot. I hate these actually because they have that annoying part on the bottom because whatever, it's fine. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh my gosh, what was I even saying? Yeah, okay, anyway, so for soil, I feel like it's really kind of a less is more kind of a thing, or kind of what you have the means to do or the want to do. You know what I mean? If you don't want to add 4 different things to your soil, 6 different things to your soil, you don't have to, you know, it's totally fine. Your plants will grow, I promise, they'll grow. They want to grow, you know what I mean? I mean, think of all the random places you've seen plants growing out in the wild and you're just like, what the hell? You're growing out of a crack, but you're not going to grow in my house. I feel like that is usually because we're trying too hard and we need to play a little bit more like hard to get with our plants. You know what I'm saying? And just kind of forget about them a little bit more. And usually that's when my plants end up thriving, is if I start to forget about them just a little bit. So that's kind of goes hand in hand with like my video about like some plants want neglect, you know what I mean? You can kind of take that same thought process and put that towards your soil. So if you don't want to worry about that, you don't have to. It is totally fine. I feel like, yeah, I just feel like sometimes it can get a little crazy or a little carried away with just how much, you know, people can add or say you should add, I guess, to your soil. It's crazy. Like sometimes people add like 6 10 plus amendments. Like, it's crazy. It looks beautiful, don't get me wrong. I mean, if I had the means, I totally would. So I'm not saying if you want to do that, you shouldn't do that. I'm not saying that at all in any way. I'm just saying, don't feel bad if you don't want to do that, or if you don't have the means to do that, or whatever. You know, just do whatever you want to do. Your plants will be fine. I'm sure they already are in your care anyway. So yeah, I would just say, if you want to go crazy with your soil amendments, do it. If you want to just be plain and simple, I think your plants will still be absolutely fine. I have quite a few plants that are, you know, either still in the soil that they came in from the nursery and I just never changed it out because they're just growing fine still. Or, you know, when I replanted something, I maybe didn't have any soil amendments really to work with and I just had, you know, the plain soil. That's fine. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. I would just say, if you are using soil that is just the plain, like Miracle-Gro potting mix, for example, like the stuff that I'm using today, I would just say to maybe keep an eye on your plants a little bit more and don't overwater your plants, because I feel like that can be, you know, probably usually the biggest issue for most of us is overwatering our plants, because we just want to like care for them too much, you know? We love our plants a little too much sometimes. And I think that can be a big issue if you don't have as much stuff to aerate your soil. Because like I said, most of the things that I added, aside from worm castings, was really just to help aerate the soil. So if you're not able to add that, or you don't want to add that, just watch your watering a little bit more and you'll be fine. All right, this was the last one I wanted to repot. This was my Scindapsus Silver Splash, I think. Something like that. It doesn't say on this actual tag, it just says Pothos Silver 217. So it's not a pothos, but it is silver. So I went ahead and repotted this guy. This is on my boyfriend's side of the bed. I will link the video up in the corner for you guys so that you can see when I added this and kind of how we rearranged it with the use of the beautiful Soltech Solutions light. I'll link that down below too in case you want to check that out for yourself, and I have a discount code for that too. So I'll pop that down for you too in case you want to use it. But yeah, I think that is going to do it for this video. I'm really pleased we got 3 plants repotted, and I feel like that was pretty darn quick. So yeah. All right, you guys, I will see you in the next video. Don't forget, go crazy with your soil mix or don't. Either way, don't feel bad about it. Just do whatever you want to do. They're your plants. So whatever. All right, you guys, I will see you later. If you like this kind of stuff, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will know to make more of these kinds of videos.